Here's why the Jeep Wrangler is literally the worst vehicle you can buy right now. There's many reasons for it. Let's just cut to the chase and get right into it.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
Well, first, before we get into some of the technical reasons why the Jeep Wrangler is clearly one of the worst vehicles you can buy right now, number one is the price, the sheer value price, and its lack of value proposition. Yes, the price is high. Have you seen these? Have you priced them out lately? You get into one of these four-door versions, we upscale, and you could pay a fortune. You could pay 5 Series BMW money just to get into one of these modern-day four-door Jeep Wranglers. It's ludicrous. I can't believe how expensive some of these Jeeps are these days. If you scale down and you go with the base model two-door, yeah, you could save some money, but they're all very grossly overpriced. Just have a look at the classifieds. Log on to jeep.ca, log on to jeep.canada or .com, and you'll find quickly when you do a build your own how expensive they really are brand new. But it doesn't just end there. You think, okay, well, what if I buy a used one? Okay, you're like, well, I could save some money. I'll go down there and I'll buy a 2-year-old Jeep Wrangler and I'll save a ton of money. Think again, that's not going to happen, because in fact, the used vehicles are very, very highly priced too. Not just because this last 2 years and what's been going on in the marketplace. That's crazy. We all know that that's just silliness what's going on in the industry. But the Jeep Wrangler has literally resisted some of those changes. It's always been very high in the used car market. And I've mentioned in previous videos about the depreciation. They literally don't depreciate, not until they've got 150, 200,000 miles on them and until they're about 7 or 8 years down the road. But if you're looking at a 2 or 3 year old Jeep Wrangler, you're going to pay pretty darn close to the price of a brand new one. It's ludicrous. So the idea of getting a brand new one or a used one just is almost cost prohibitive. If you're on a limited budget, they're just way too expensive. That's why you don't want to buy them. Clearly, it's something that you want to wait it out, maybe find some other alternative. There's better vehicles out there from Lexus. If you're going to go and spend that kind of money, maybe even look at a Toyota 4Runner. They're clearly a better built vehicle and are going to last the test of time. I mean, clearly a lot of these vehicles, they're Jeeps, they're off-roaders, so they're not going to get great fuel mileage. I mean, with big wheels like this on here, clearly you're talking BF Goodrich. This is definitely an off-roading vehicle, so you're going to get poor fuel mileage. And if you're worried about fuel costs today, this is definitely not the vehicle you want. Yes, you get this extra capacity right here, and this is handy. Sure, a lot of people like it, but look at the size of that wheel on there. That's definitely Baja Champion right there. That means you're going to use this vehicle off-road, and if you're not using it off-road, why drive this on the street? Because it's just going to cost a huge amount of money for fuel. Of course, you can tow things, and that's why they're practical. A lot of people like them. But there are other issues with these vehicles. I mean, that roof right there has been known to let water in. And if you're not careful in the way you mount that roof, there's been lots of cases where people talk about water dribbling into the front or getting in there. If you take the roof off, put it back on, and you don't do it right, the seals on that can actually let water in. So that's clearly a problem with some of these vehicles. The fit and finish definitely doesn't commensurate with the price. I mean, this is handy, it wears well, but look at the cheap handles. That's not well made. These start to chip, and when they do, they start to rust and they look bad. And obviously, those hinges also exist right here on the front window, so they will rust, and you don't want that. Clearly, cheap parts, not worth the money. Other problems with these Jeeps aren't restricted to leaks from water and ingress there. It also could be oil or coolant leaks. For example, looking down under here, we go to the front of this vehicle and we can see leaks right there. And if you look underneath, you can see all kinds of hardware there that can leak from oil, coolant, and the likes. And that's not what you want. You don't want a vehicle that's going to let fluids like that all over the asphalt. That's not good. There's also issues with electrics. When you look under the hood here, the battery's disconnected because there was likely a short circuit going on here. And obviously with the fuse box, that meant there was some diagnostics going on here, because literally the electrics are commonly known to be a fault in these vehicles. And often a lot of those electric faults come in the way of the electrics, like lights, power windows, gauges, and all of other power windows and other electrics that you can expect throughout. And they're all tied to that TIPM, the totally integrated power module, which is one of those things that's notoriously bad in a lot of Dodge and Jeep products. And you want to get a vehicle that's kind of on the hair or the hairy edge of possibly failing and shorting out, or your gauges are running and then they go flatline and they come back up, or lights just go out completely. That's clearly something that you would expect and anticipate with many of these vehicles from Dodge or Jeep. And sadly, that's just not something you want to deal with. There's many other issues. Let's just get into a couple other key reasons you probably don't want to get into one of these Wranglers. Let's take a look under the front suspension. As mentioned already, when you look at the suspension, it's off-road. It's meant for high, rock climbing and stump climbing, and it's meant to go off-roading. So the suspension has a lot of travel, it moves up and down, but unfortunately, too many parts of this start to get prematurely loose, and you start to develop an issue called death wobble. And death wobble could have resulted in something like this. This is where that vehicle can go off the road because it starts to get unwieldy and out of control, and then you wind up running into a tree or something. Other issues exist. Airbags, problem, known areas for a lot of Dodge and Jeep products. We also can't forget some of the issues in here. Throttle position sensors, probably in here somewhere, but that's one of the common issues, the throttle position sensor, where the idle goes up and down and up and down and surges and hunts and pecks. And there's just a lot of problems under the hood of these vehicles. I mean, you have coolant leaks because, it just leaks out of the top or the bottom. And there's a lot of issues. Look, you got caps that just pop off randomly. You got metal that just seems to come apart. It's not very well built. I mean, look at this. That's not well constructed, is it? Whoa, look at that junk. And if you think you're going to haul your buddy out of the dumpster with this because you got these big, beautiful hooks on here, think again. Clearly, this is not built for that much durability, and this thing literally can rip right off. If you think you're going to pull your buddy out with his pickup truck stuck in the mud, you've got another thing coming. So clearly, this vehicle is chocked with issues, as well as the outright cost of ownership, maintenance, and buying into it, that you definitely don't want to buy a Jeep Wrangler. And with all of that said, check that video. That's really going to help you on your next buying excursion, as well as that video down there that also will help you choose one of potentially the best buys of 2023. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. We'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.